Hello, I'm Dave Craybill with iHemp Michigan. We're live on the iHemp Hour. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp. And it begins with the farmer. We're talking regenerative ag today. I love this. Saw Robbin's presentation. Thank you, Robbin, for joining us today. Robbin Pott from Pott Farms. But let's say hi to my co-host here, Blaine Bechtold, partner in crime. You survived the expo?
Yeah, we're getting back in the saddle. It was nice to take a couple weeks off to kind of regroup and re-get things going here, but glad to be back on, certainly. And for those of you that may not be aware, Dave and Mike and maybe Robbin, do you know what this month is in hemp?
Is it hemp history?
There you go. Yay, Robbin. Yay. Robbin gets a Frisbee, Dave. Just so you know. So, all right. So, yeah, this is Hemp History Month. So, pretty exciting. A lot of great things going on. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And I've got a little news to share on that. And quite a bit of news actually later in the show. Since we've been off for a few weeks, a number of things have happened that everybody needs to be brought up on. So, we'll have that about mid part of the show.
Excellent. And Mr. Brennan.
Yep, that would be me. So I represent the dark side of the force above 0.3. And I was kind of amused when I saw who we were having on the show today, Pott Farms. And so I was thinking of my audience, but clearly not. So, yeah, I look forward. I missed your presentation at the expo. So I'll look forward to hearing about regenerative farming.
All right. So, Robbin, yeah, I enjoyed your presentation. Robbin Pott is the creator, co-founder of Pott Farms, L3C, a regenerative hemp company in Willis, Michigan. What does it mean to be regenerative? It means that our systems are designed to restore and sustain rather than deplete our resources, and that they are rooted in justice. I mean, that sounds cool. For the past 4 years, Robbin has been practicing regenerative farming and learning about living soil while cultivating hemp naturally. She comes from a 20-year academic career as a child advocate and has designed the farm to also provide job opportunities for youth from disadvantaged backgrounds. So welcome, Robbin. We're so glad to have you here, and I know you have a presentation to dive into whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dave, Blaine, and Mike for having me today. I'm very excited to be here to be talking about living soil and how it can help you build resiliency in your crops and in your businesses. Okay. Thank you for that introduction. And before I start talking, I always like to kind of orient the audience and get a sense of where the audience is in terms of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start with a few questions. And I know the audience can't answer, but I'm going to ask Dave, Blaine, and Mike.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So what percentage of you is actually microbial life that is not you? And this is the cells in and on your body.
70%.
All right, I'm going to take 20.
I'm going to go 80 just to be higher.
That's not one of the choices, Dave.
Well,
I wasn't looking at the screen. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, that's funny. You have really
Robbin.
good instinct. Because at any given time, you are actually made up of 70 to 90% of the cells in and on you are microbial life that are not your DNA. Okay, it only makes 1 to 3% of your body weight, but the majority of your cells are not you. Okay. And I have another one. What percentage of microbes that we know in the world are harmless to humans, that either benefit us or at least don't harm us?
99%.
I'm going to go with 99. Yep.
I'm going to say 10%. I'm going to go the other way.
Okay. Yeah. Greater than 99% of the known microbes in the world are harmless to humans.
Okay.
So, and at this point, you're probably asking, like, what does this have to do with farming? What does this have to do with regenerative practices? And the answer is really everything. And I ask these questions. Whoops, there's the answer. And I ask these questions to just kind of get you to start open your mind to the reality that microbes are everywhere. And for me, this is my definition of what regenerative farming is. Regenerative farming is cultivating the soil microbial life so that your plants can take care of themselves. Regenerative farming is about cultivating the life in the soil. And so today I'm going to talk about three things. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the soil food web, what it is, who's there, what they do, how the whole system works, okay? That's really like all the other regenerative farming practices will make sense if you have a foundational understanding of what living soil is. So we're going to start there. And then I'm going to talk about the 4 core practices to regenerative farming and how they cultivate the soil microbial life. And then I'll wrap up with listing several reasons how using these practices builds resiliency in your farming systems, but also in your businesses, okay, and even beyond. So that's what we're doing today. And then we'll open up for questions. There's going to be a break near in about 30 minutes, and we'll open it up for questions. So let's start with the soil food web. And I'm going to get my pointer here. Where is it? I learned this before the meeting.
Oh, if you have questions out there today, go ahead and send them in on the chat line, and we'll have them ready for when Robbin gets done with her presentation.
Yeah, great. So the soil food web, this is the foundational piece that you need to understand. And this is from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, this very basic illustration. The soil food web starts with living plants, photosynthesizing with air and water. They produce sugars and proteins that a lot of ends up being fed through the roots of their systems and out into the soil. And we'll talk about these functions and how they all tie together. And I'll be connecting dots as we go. But first, photosynthesizing plants, and then they die, and you've got your organic matter in the soil. And this next part, you can see insects and worms and birds and mammals with your eyes. I'm going to be talking and showing you pictures of the microbial life. We're going to be talking about bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and microarthropods, okay? So part of some of the training that I've done in recent years, I've been trained to use a microscope to assess the life in the soil and see who's there and if they're in the right numbers. So I am going to start showing, where are you? Whoops, there we go, it's just delayed. So here's the first picture. This is a photo I took with my microscope, and the foundation of the soil food web are bacteria. So anything with a smooth round edge in this photo is a bacterium. They're everywhere. You'll see them in all these other photos. And this is a drop of water on a slide, magnified 400 times. All these photos are, okay? So what do bacteria do? Bacteria do a couple things. One, they produce glues that they attach themselves to whatever they're decomposing, either organic matter or mineral matter. And then they're very specialized. There's countless numbers of bacteria, but each one does one very specific thing. And that is they produce a specific enzyme, whatever their specialty is, and they pull one nutrient off that dead leaf or that rock at a time. So if it's built to produce, to decompose nitrogen, it's going to yank off one nitrogen off that very slowly. So they're gluing themselves and decomposing one molecule at a time, one nutrient at a time. They are also, because they're gluing themselves to these bits, they're starting to build aggregates. These are micro aggregates, starting to glue the bits of the soil together. But for the most part, this is just dirt with bacteria in it, okay? Then the most important thing they do is they're the foundational food for everybody else just about in the soil food web. And you'll understand that in a bit later. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The next member of the soil food web that's important to know are the fungi. And fungi are a huge topic. I can't even begin to discuss all the wonderful things fungi do. But for this talk and to understand their role in this whole system in regenerative farming is important to know, one, they are building these mycelium. These are their strands of fungi going through the soil, searching for food. This is one single strand. Can you see my screen and everything? And is the pointer working?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The important thing to know is they're decomposing more complex organic matter like woody material, and they are, there's a strand, they're going in different directions, and then they start to pull together those micro aggregates that the bacteria are gluing together to form bigger aggregates. And this is what soil structure looks like at a microscopic scale. You say soil structure is so important. This is what it looks like. And we'll touch again on this particular issue a little bit later. But right now, I'm just introducing who's here and what they're doing. And I should say fungi do all sorts of things. They form mutualistic relationships with plants. We're not going to touch on any of that, but they're an important piece of all this for the reasons I just stated. The next group are the protozoa. These are freshwater animals that live in the water amongst the organic matter and the minerals, and they are the grazers. So the bacteria and the fungi are decomposing matter and pulling nutrients off. That's their skill set, but those nutrients are then bound up in their bodies. The bacteria takes a nutrient and then multiplies and makes a new bacteria. That nutrient isn't available to the plant. The nutrients become available to the plants when these grazers are out in the soil eating, digesting, and releasing their waste in plant available nutrients. So let me talk about some of these fellows. They eat the bacteria, and some eat the fungi. We'll get to those. But you can see this is an amoeba. This is a shell called a testate, and you can see the amoeba sneaking out, grabbing just a blob, grabbing some bacteria, going back in the shell, digesting, and then releasing these gases, these nutrients as waste that the plants can take up. Here's another, there's amoeba that lives in this shell doing the same thing. It'll come out, go back in, digest. This is a ciliate. It has a bunch of hairs. It's zooming around in that water, digesting, releasing waste. This is the flagellate. You see its tail swimming around the water. So these are in there, and that's nutrient cycling. So the bacteria and the fungi are decomposing. These grazers are eating the bacteria and fungi and releasing waste that the plants can access the nutrients. Another category are the nematodes. These are microscopic worms. There's 4 different types. The bottom one is a bacteria feeder. As we call those fancy lips. This kind of nematode eats fungi. It has a spear that sticks it into the mycelium and sucks out its juices. They're also root-feeding nematodes. These give nematodes a bad name. You might have heard nematodes before because this category is detrimental to your plants. It'll feed on live plant roots, weakening them. But there's a 4th category, and those are called predator nematodes. And they eat other nematodes. And their favorite type of nematode to eat are the root feeders. Oh. So 3 of the 4 types of nematodes are your friends. They're in there consuming the bacteria and the fungi, digesting, releasing waste in plant available nutrients, right? So this is the nutrient cycling that's happening.
Wow.
And then another layer up that is still microscopic are the microarthropods. And these are multicellular. This is you might have heard of a tardigrade or a water bear. This is what one looks like. This is a mite over here. This is a leg of a bigger microarthropod. Sometimes you just find the leg and you're like, someone lost their leg. But they're in there. So they're not only eating the bacteria and the fungi, digesting and releasing waste, they're also tunneling and moving those microaggregates around and making passageways for air, water, and roots. So like the earthworms on a visual scale, we can see earthworms and insects doing that. On a microscopic level, the microarthropods are doing that kind of work too. So it's building the soil structure slowly as you go up the food chain. So those are the main characters. There's many more that I could talk about, but those are kind of the big categories. Let's talk about the importance of plants in this system. let me check my notes really quick. Make sure I'm
There's a
not
whole world going on down there in the dirt.
whole
I know, it
world.
looks like a bad science fiction movie to me.
It is scary. If you were, if you were little bacteria, yeah.
Or if they were eye size, holy cow. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is this whole world down there, and the organism that's in charge are the plants. The plants are orchestrating the nutrient cycling. So plants photosynthesize. Their intelligence, they have this intelligence that they are able to produce very specific sugars and carbohydrates. Are called exudates. They send these signals into the soil as food, and the soil life responds. This plant can say, hey guys, in the soil, I need some potassium, a little bit of copper, a little bit of zinc, and some calcium. The life is responding to that, and bacteria go get it. The grazers eat the bacteria, and the plant gets what it needs. So whatever nutrient cycling is happening below ground is being orchestrated by what the plant is demanding above ground. Okay? That's an important piece. And then the last key piece to understanding what regenerative farming is all about is succession. Now, you probably remember this from high school biology, maybe, or familiar with, those who are farming, what succession is, but it's basically the natural succession of more and more complex plants over time. And it is based on the soil. It is based on the balance between bacteria and fungi in the soil. So you've got early succession where you've got disturbed soil. You've got all bacteria, no fungi, probably not a lot of predators or grazers in the soil. And you've got weeds. And we call them weeds, but I really like to think of them as first responders because they're really designed to begin the healing process of soil. They're going to grow deep roots. They're going to grow quickly. They're going to have a lot of seeds that disperse easily far and wide. They're going to start the photosynthesizing, sending the food into the soil. They're going to start dying back, adding organic matter. And as you get farther into that process, you got, then you get to grasses, vegetables, row crops, shrubs, flowering, fruiting trees, big deciduous trees, conifers into old growth. That's the succession. You've got early, mid, and late succession. Regenerative farmers aim for mid-succession soil. This is the most productive phase of succession. This is the most resilient phase of succession. So this is all bacteria in early succession, almost all fungi in old growth. Mid-succession is a balance. I mean, there's fine-tuning to be done depending on what crop you're after, but basically a balanced mix of fungi and bacteria for this productive soil, okay? So that is the whole soil food web. That's how the whole system works. Now let me switch kind of topics a little bit and talk about practices or principles of regenerative farming that lead to cultivating this system below the soil, right? I'm going to list them and then I'll go into detail about each of them. Using compost, reduce tilling or disturbance, year-round cover plants, and cultivating diversity or polycultures, okay? That's it. Now, each of these, I could talk all day on each of these, but, just to give you an idea of, what the universe of these practices are, it's these four. Let's talk about compost. Compost is, you want to use really good compost, well-made, aerobic, good mixture of brown and greens. And we use compost in lots of ways. We can put it out in the field as is. We can make an extract and spray it out as a soak into the soils. We can make teas where you're brewing and really increasing that life in that tea over a couple of days. And we also like to use it as mulch around our plants to keep the soil cool and moist. And as it decomposes, it adds its CO2 to the plant right at its base to give that plant a boost of carbon dioxide, which is good for them. They like that. And why you want to use this is because it's going to inoculate your soils with the life. Really well-made compost is going to be chock full of those members of the soil food web, and putting them out in your soil they'll multiply and they'll spread. And that using compost is an excellent way of doing that.
Now, do you mix the compost into the soil, or is it you just lay it on top?
We lay it on top. We usually just are laying it on top.
And it just
and adding it like it's top down, because the rain, it'll come down. Because if you bury compost too far, it could get locked into an airtight pocket, and then air's not getting in there, and then it goes anaerobic. And you should have me on to talk about anaerobic conditions. It's bad. So, but yeah, we're just on top. And I wanted a couple other points. Oh, animal component. A lot of times when you look at, you research regenerative agriculture, it's going to be like, you're going to need an animal component. Well, that's a lot for beginning farmers, and for many farmers. We use animal manures in our composting system. So our animal component is coming through our composting system.
Okay.
The next of the 4 practices is reduced tilling. And I think this is probably the scariest one for farmers. And it's not no-till. I think no-till is a misnomer that scares people. We avoid tilling, and when we do have to do a disturbance, we know that we need to do work to restore the soil back to a mid-succession soil. So one of the things, our favorite way to reduce tilling is to just sheet mulch. We don't disturb the soil, we'll build up. And so this is our first garden that we built in 2018. We use reclaimed cardboard, freely available with a little work, reclaimed wood chips on top of that, also freely available with a little work, utility companies, tree trimming companies, and then compost on top of that. And we, rent a dump trailer and bring it in commercially because we can't produce that much on our small scale farm. But then we rake the compost into our beds. And this is a drone picture. We call it our mandala garden. It's 50-foot diameter, and it's a mandala is a repeating pattern garden. And so this is what we sheet mulch this. So no tilling, it was additive. Okay. The third of the 4 practices are annual year-round cover plants. And there's a gold standard here is to figure out how to get a perennial cover plant mix established in your fields. So going back to no-till, we did till once. This was in our pilot field. We tilled once in the fall, and we then seeded it with a mix of cover plants, a diverse set of cover plants. There was 22 different kinds of seeds. There's flowers, grasses, grains, legumes, mostly perennials, but some annuals to kind of get that going faster. This is what it looks like in the fall. Last year, the black-eyed Susans really kind of dominated because of whatever conditions there were that year. This is what the field looked like this spring. We sheet mulched these hills in this cover plant, and we plant directly into these hills. Now, why do you want year-round plants? Going back to the soil food web, remember, the life in the soil is dependent heavily on the photosynthesis, the exudates that the plant is sending into the soil. Food for the microbial life is coming from living plants. And when that food is cut off, the soil food web dramatically declines. So perennial living roots in your soil year-round. And one more thing is we planted a mix that nothing grows higher than 18 inches, and we mow through about June. And after June, the plants are big enough, we don't mow, and the plants, our hemp plants are on their own. They're above the fray, and they're out in the sun. And they have this living carpet around them.
So Robin, these
Yeah.
these circles that you're planting into, is this where you're planting hemp plants in here, or you're
Mhm.
planting other hemp plants? Okay.
Yep. We're our main crop is hemp. We're producing for CBD. We have done a fiber trial in 2020, but we're still really focused on the CBD production, the cannabinoid production. And then the fourth principle practice is really cultivating diversity in your soil. Remember, the plants are directing the nutrient cycling, and the more diverse plants you have, the more diverse nutrient cycling you're going to have. So whatever your hemp plant needs at any given time, it's going to be in the soil because you have all these other plants guaranteeing that there's going to be a healthy, diverse mix of nutrients in your soil. So looking at this picture, this is doing lots of things for us. So you can see our hemp plant in this background right here. This is the understory. There's sweet alyssum and marigold that are attracting beneficial insects to our garden. There's hairy vetch here, which is a legume. It's going to be fixing nitrogen. Sorry about that. There is a gourd vine crawling through here, so we're producing food in our system. There is a comfrey right here, which is a dynamic bioaccumulator. It has deep roots. It's pulling nutrients that these other plants can't access up to the higher horizons of the soil, and then it dives back and makes it available to our plants. So this is all things that we intentionally cultivated. And if you can see here, there's no weeds.
Yeah.
No
They
weeds.
don't have a chance.
They don't have a chance. Well, it also has to do with the soil. We have cultivated mid-succession soil. Weeds wake up in bacteria-dominated early succession soil. The seed coating is triggered, germination is triggered under the right conditions. So when I said this, it seemed to be a light bulb for you, Dave, during the expo, but like, have you ever tilled a garden bed and a week later you have a new crop of weeds? That's because if you had, a balanced succession soil and you tilled it, your fungi levels dramatically decrease, your bacteria levels dramatically increase because you flipped organic matter into the air and they start decomposing it. And the seeds from weeds are going to be like, oh, hey, we're in the right conditions to germinate. And you're going to get weeds. And that's because you changed the composition of your soil. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, when my wife and I were planting some tomato plants in a little area, her first instinct was for me to clear out the garden. It's like, no, don't do that. We'll just clear out where we're going to plant and let's just throw some grass clippings around everywhere else, cover it up. So,
that's exactly. It's a great instinct. Let me know how that works out.
From your talk that I learned
Awesome.
about the soil, it's like, yeah. So
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it does. Less weeding is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you minimize tillage and you inoculate with the soil food web and you have a diverse set of photosynthates going into the soil, feeding a diverse set of microbes, your weeds won't wake up. They're like, this isn't the soil we prefer.
Awesome.
So let's talk about cultivating resiliency. This is the third part of the talk. How do all these practices cultivate resiliency in your farm system, right? Water retention, number one. So looking back at these photos, bacteria-dominated soil, water is flying through here, just going through it, taking the nutrients. The soil like this is often compacted, so the water is running off of it, right? Versus soil aggregates. Soil that looks like this, the water is clinging to these clumps, pooling in these corners, and it's going to stay put. Okay, this is how soil structure improves water retention. There's a photo of it. Another benefit is it's going to retain your nutrients. So if your water is staying put, your nutrients are staying put. They're not running off. They're not leaching down to the bedrock. Okay. Nutrient cycling, we talked quite a bit about this, but you've got the decomposers being eaten, releasing waste, feeding the plants. So between these three benefits, you're greatly reducing your irrigation costs, if maybe even down to zero. There's no need for fertilizers because you're going to have every nutrient that you need right in place because you have those microbes doing the work for you, okay? And then some other ones that we haven't talked about today, but healthy plants can protect themselves from pests and disease, and healthy plants are plants that have everything they need. So if you have these systems in place, your plants are going to have everything they need to do their own fighting. So there's no need for pesticides or fungicides. Weed suppression. We talked about this. You're cultivating the right kind of soil. Weeds aren't going to wake up. Weed suppression. That's going to save you on herbicides. And a kind of a bigger, you get up, kind of bigger picture, resiliency in terms of, humanity on the planet. You're going to be capturing and storing carbon. There's many ways that soils and living plants do that. But one, I wanted to highlight this, one of my favorite pictures. This is fungi. Fungi store carbon. You can see it clearly in these pictures. They consume carbon, and then as they grow, they shellac the insides of their mycelium with it. These black borders, that's carbon. That's carbon. That's all carbon. So increasing your fungi level, increasing your ability to store carbon. This could come into handy when we get into carbon trade, carbon credits. This is part of the carbon sequestration, measuring how much your fungi is storing for the world and getting paid for it.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful.
And then, also, habitat for biodiversity. That's key to saving our wildlife and protecting our animals. I can go on and on about that, but I'm going to pause because there's also resiliency benefits for yourself, for your business. And I'm going to talk about, what we do, what the benefits that we've seen on our farm in terms of, lowering our costs and the benefits for the business. But I wanted to pause, looking at the clock. It's perfect timing. Dave, we're going to take a break and let the guys do their stuff.
All right. So we've got some news. This is our news segment. So Blaine, you want to go first?
I could do that. Certainly. I'll try to make it as brief as I can because I know Mike's got some really good news to share too. So I just want to give a nice shout out to National Farmers Union. They were at the expo with us as well, exhibiting and sharing their story with people that were there. And they've been a supporter for a long time. We've been working with them as well. And when I was doing some research on Hemp History Month, right? This article came up about Hemp History Week. And this was actually an article from back in June 4th of 2012. So this was way before, anything was really being talked too much about making industrial hemp legal and putting it into the Farm Bill and everything else. And so I just want to give a shout out to National Farmers Union for what they've been doing for years to get industrial hemp here. So just a little brief expert here. Hemp is an untapped opportunity for American farmers, and Hemp History Week, which is what it was known back then, is a time to make our voices heard in support of bringing hemp back to the U.S. farms. Hemp is a traditional American crop grown by George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, but in 1930, misguided federal policy criminalized the cultivation of industrial hemp in the U.S., despite the fact that industrial hemp has no drug value. The outdated policy has created a missed opportunity for American farmers and consumers alike. So back in 2012, National Farmers Union was doing their bit to try to bring hemp in. So that's just one thing I want to talk about. Big news that came out just this last week. Dun Agro Hemp Group Incorporated, the American corporation of the leading Dutch hemp company, said it will set up a North American headquarters and build its first U.S.-based processing facilities in Indiana. Dun Agro, a global leader in the product development for fiber application and a pioneer with 28-year history in the reborn European hemp industry, said the Indiana operation will be modeled after its vertically integrated complex in Holland, not Holland, Michigan.
The Netherlands, yes.
What's that?
The Netherlands. So
The Netherlands, say the Netherlands.
Holland is actually like a
I
state
can't
in
say the
Netherlands.
city.
So yeah,
I
go
would
ahead.
butcher this city really bad.
Yeah.
So, we're Oudepekela. So if anybody can, Oudepekela, where the company has an environmentally friendly factory and turns out herd, fiber, and other hemp materials for a wide range of applications. So we're excited for Indiana. We're jealous, but we're excited for them. The U.S. facility is expected to be in operation in mid-2023. Now, in the article, they don't say where it's going to be located or anything else on it. They also talk about trying to work with tribes as well. And so we've reached out to them. Hopefully, we'll have some information back from them and be able to have them on the show in the near future to talk about. So I'm hoping that this is located fairly close to the Michigan border so that we can also have some of our farmers participate and be able to expand their operations and be able to provide hemp fiber to them as well. The Midwest Hemp Research Collaborative provides updated reminds growers that the 2022 applications are due by July 16th. MDAR to put out an article on this, and we'll get one up on the website as well. But if you're looking at getting into that, it's part of the database, and which is very, very important as we move forward to figure out what varieties or varietals are going to grow good here, whether it be CBD, whether it be for grain, or whether it be for fiber. So again, the applications are due by July 16th on that if you want to get in and be able to support that. In the past, they gave some discounts on doing the testing for that. And again, all your information goes into a large database, and that's how we can figure out what's going to happen good here going forward. A lot of things happening in Pennsylvania this month and next month. Pennsylvania is really when you read about what's going on there, I hope that our state can see what Pennsylvania is doing to help their grow their hemp industry, and we're looking forward to when that day can happen and we can work with them on that. But there's a let's see, what is it called? Women of Weedville is what it's putting on, and also Pennsylvania Hemp Festival is going to be going on. They've made an offer for anybody that was exhibitor at our expo to be able to exhibit at theirs with a discounted rate. And that is going to happen in July. And let me find the date on that. Saturday, July 30th. That's from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They're going to have a children's discovery zone, PA farming forum, presentation displays of hemp speakers, live music, and a VIP party to follow. So we'll get more information out on that, but great opportunity to participate in Pennsylvania for that. And also Let's Go PA is another one that's having an event coming up in July as well. Let's see what else we got. Big news that came out this week too was the federal courts and what they've decided on D8. So the federal courts have decided that D8 is legal, and it wasn't excluded from the production of the industrial hemp plant. So that's going to change a lot of things going forward. A lot of states were trying to ban that, and so that's going to certainly make for some discussion and different avenue that may be taken for D8, and get another market for potentially for hemp farmers to be able to.
In Michigan, they changed it, and it was going to go under what the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, and then you'd have to buy it at licensed dispensaries for anything Delta 8. And I know several folks that were heavy in Delta 8, and obviously they almost killed their businesses suddenly because one in particular had like 1,500 customers around the country, and then suddenly the market went away. Not good. So that's very good news here. Not only the hemp farmers, but a lot of folks that we deal with.
Yeah. So it's going to be huge as that goes forward. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, there's always been a controversy on that, and there probably still will be. But right now, federal courts confirmed Delta 8 THC is federally legal. So
yep.
On that. Mike, I'll put some to you. I'll have some more news a little later in the show.
Okay. Speaking of federally legal, there's a survey came out, and it showed that something in the neighborhood of 80% of the people surveyed, hopefully that was a good sample, we're opposed to all the prohibitions on making adult use cannabis legal. In other words, only 20% of the U.S. population right now thinks that adult use or the use of marijuana should be banned. So it's just a question now of when is Congress going to do something? Certainly, I don't want to sound like I'm a politician because I'm not, probably far from it. But the Democrats have been trying to get it legalized, and they keep running up against the Republicans in the Senate that for some reason don't want to do it. So maybe now with these surveys coming out showing so many people in America just say it's time to end the war on drugs and, all that stuff that goes on with reefer madness that we were all indoctrinated with when we were young, maybe it'll finally go away. The other thing I wanted to point out is cannabis tourism now is starting to become kind of big in Michigan, where tourism is the number 2 industry in the state and cannabis is the number 3 cash crop. So it seems like a good marriage, right? And so we had a couple people on my show yesterday. I do 420 posts on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock on Facebook. And we had one called Dune Grass, which I was not familiar with, but they've got 6 dispensaries in northern Michigan, and they've now weaving a campaign because, northern Michigan, summertime, lots of tourists. And so they're playing the cannabis tourism campaign up there, revamping their website so that they can plug folks into cannabis-friendly hotels, motels, restaurants, bars, all that stuff. As a disclaimer, I'm also the communications chair for Michigo, which is a nonprofit trying to do the same thing statewide. So I'm a little biased there, but I think it's a great idea. What the heck, right? And then we also had on the show the founder of a cannabis-friendly, I wouldn't call it it's really a bud and breakfast, not really a bed and breakfast place in Detroit called the Copper House, Detroit, run by some Black women. And they're in an area where there's a lot of Black businesses. And because they're doing this, and not only are they having, and it's mostly a weekend bed and breakfast kind of thing, but they also do events there, cannabis-friendly events. They just added 1,000 square feet in the basement so they can host more events. And what they're actually doing is they're helping a lot of the other Black businesses in the Avenue of Fashions area, so that they're attracting more folks who are buying more stuff from the Black businesses. So it's a win-win all the way around. And there are, like I say, there's a number of, there's a certain hesitation on the part of a lot of the big players, like the big hotel, motel chains, because it still is against the law federally. And there's other groups that are looking at it, but if they take any federal money, they're really kind of concerned that if they do something cannabis friendly, that the feds are going to jerk their money away. So we still have a lot of this bugaboo out there we need to clean up. But I mean, it's time to end this craziness. I mean, if people want to smoke, let them smoke, right? And so if they want to cater to folks who are smokers, it's a big opportunity because, only Illinois and Canada around us are legal. Ohio, Indiana, particularly Indiana, talk about a conservative state, are not. But at least Ohio's got medical now. So, I mean, it's a really good chance for us to, really capitalize on 2 of our biggest industries, tourism and cannabis, to combine them to make money, attract tourists, win-win, right? Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Mike, who you got coming up next week? Do you know yet or not yet?
No, not yet. We just, I try to keep the show as topical as I can, try to, whoever the top newsmakers of the week are. And usually about this time, I'm thinking about who we get on the show. We're going to take the following week off. And then I wanted to, if I may, I wanted to point out for those who want to really meet the 420 postcast, we're going to be at Canna Bash Fest in Muskegon on July 9th. We'll all be there. One of our, Dan Sparrow and Connie Sparrow, who work with us on that show, will be we're there to kind of support them, but there's going to be 45 vendors there. Now, only 7 or so are dispensaries, but a lot of them are, really cool things like clothing and jewelry and artifacts, and they're having it at that big softball facility just outside of Muskegon. They're expecting 5,000 or 6,000 people to show up. So if you want to meet my crowd, and trust me when I say it's a pretty mellow crowd, particularly since this is the consumption event. that'd be a great place to get introduced to. And you don't see that many events on the west side of the state. Most of it's down here where we are in Southeast Michigan. So it's nice to have an event on that side of the state. And I originally hail from the Grand Rapids area, so I'll certainly be over there. And I would at cannabashfest.com. And if you buy one of the VIP tickets, Dave and Blaine, you get the big grab bag with $400 worth of free stuff in it. It's a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to move fast, though, because those are going to go like hotcakes, right? It's only $125 for the VIP ticket. So, and you get to meet all the cool people in the tent, like the 420 cast,
Well, that's worth the price of admission.
right there. That's the price of admission.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be shaking hands all day long, right? So kissing babies and all that stuff.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, I'll turn the show back over to you guys. I've done all my shameless plugs.
We have a couple questions that popped in. This one, Robbin, from Jamal Thomas. He and his wife are members of a Detroit urban farming community. They purchased an old school building in Highland Park to start a hemp research farming operation on soil remediation in neighborhoods with tons of demolished lead contaminated homes. And he's asking how has structuring your organization as an LC3 benefited you? So would you explain what it, because I didn't, I don't know what an LC3 is.
Sure. Thanks, Jamal. That's exciting. I've connections to Detroit. Our farm is just like a quarter mile from Wayne County. It sounds really, you're doing a really exciting project. I'd love to hear more about that. And so L3C is an acronym for Low Profit Limited Liability Company. It is a legal entity business structure that the state of Michigan offers. Not all states offer this legal entity structure. It is a hybrid. An easier way to think about it, it's a hybrid between a for-profit and a nonprofit. We are not a nonprofit corporation. We don't have a governance structure or board. And I'm trained as a lawyer, and I have years of experience in nonprofit as a president and executive director, and starting them. I've started several over the years, and I decided to start Pott Farms as an L3C. And the benefits to that are, one, complete control. My team, I have a team of advisors. We have complete control over what we do. I lead the company, and I have complete control. And there's easier governance structure to the organization. But the two main benefits, and this will depend on your circumstances, is one, theoretically, it allows you to fundraise, and foundations can, like-minded, mission-similar foundations can donate money to you and not lose their nonprofit status or foundation status. That's a legality issue, and I don't think it's actually has ever happened, but the idea is you can be a limited liability company and still get mission directed foundation donations. And the benefit of the low profit limited liability structure, which really drives my decision, was it allows, in a legal sense, for us to maximize three bottom lines: profit, people, places. Any for-profit business as a legal entity, in the eyes of the law, are mandated to maximize profit. That is what they're supposed to do. There's no legal room for people or places, but the L3C carves out this legal exception saying you are allowed to make money and not focus completely on profit, but you can also prioritize people and places. And this is important because we have investors. There are 12 members, in addition to me, who have funded Pott Farms since 2017. And I, as the leader, the decider, am not legally compelled to make all decisions that are directed towards maximizing profit. My company can also prioritize people and environment and place. So if you're going to have investors, it's legal protection. They can't come back and sue you for not maximizing profits. Not that I'm concerned. Our members are fantastic, but there is that legal protection, but also possibly fundraising. that was a long-winded answer, but it's because a lot of people don't know about this legal structure in Michigan. I like to educate people when I have an opportunity to.
Yeah, I'm only aware of a couple of companies that are actually using it, and it's kind of, I wouldn't call it experimental, but like you say, it's in the middle. It's tough to be a for-profit corporation or a nonprofit. This kind of combines the best of both.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. All right, we have one more question, then we'll get back to you, Robin. So Cheryl is asking, and this is a great question. I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for you, Cheryl. But will this hemp plant in Indiana be leading to someone creating hemp fabric? What a great question. I want to buy American-made hemp fabric. Is that available anywhere? No. Damn it. Not that I'm aware of yet. So it's coming. Give it time. We're early.
If I can add to that, Carhartt, our Michigan-bred clothing company, is actively pursuing hemp. I've actually was contacted. I'm like, we're so small, I can't provide Carhartt with industrial fiber. But Carhartt is actively bringing hemp fibers online.
They were involved in our 2021 expo. We had some of their people. So I know they're, that's on their radar. Yeah. But we need the processing set up. We just don't. That's
So I'm going to put a little bit of input in here. I believe that it probably will lead to a lot of different things. This company's been doing this for a long time in the Netherlands, and I'm sure that's probably one of the things that they're providing. So I'm taking a shot here, but yeah, I think
this is not a CBD operation. This is industrial. So
it's for fiber. Yeah,
right.
Fiber and herb both. So
right.
Yeah, so I believe that it probably will, and this is it hurts because we're all taking this step forward a little at a time and making it work. But, this is the infrastructure that needs to get built. Without this infrastructure, right, the textile manufacturer can't make it because we don't grow it and process it for them yet. So all these things are happening, and a lot of great things are happening for sure. So yes, it's coming.
And I've heard from reliable sources that in the auto industry, the OEMs, that'd be Ford, GM, they assemble, but they don't really make the parts. That comes from the tier ones. And I know Lear is actively looking for hemp farmers to supply them so they can make fabric for the OEMs. So, and now with Carhartt, there's a couple of really big players that could kind of get this thing in motion, right?
Yeah.
It's coming
here in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, Robin, let's talk about what you're doing on your farm and what the results have been.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen again. We have some wrap up. So we left off, all multiple reasons why you can how you would cultivate resiliency within your farming system. But in terms of your business, let's see, is it delayed or is it going to go? There we go. So in terms of your business and your life, we talked about how you can dramatically lower your costs through these systems on the farm inputs, reduced or no irrigation even, no fertilizer, no herbicide, no pesticide. The plants can take care of themselves for lower labor. But on the flip side, when your plants have everything they need, you're going to get higher yields. And we're living this at our farm, and we've seen this. We've made mistakes and we've had trial and errors, but we've had some successes. And this is our 2021 harvest. This is our largest plant. It weighed more than 20 pounds. It was, I don't know how tall it was. This is one of our members carrying it to our drying facility. And this was a seedling that we put in the ground in spring. And in the mandala garden I showed pictures of, which was in its 4th season, so really well established. I don't know what that is. Really well established living soil. The only thing we did was maybe irrigate it a few times in the dry season. So we've seen these results. This is happening at our farm. So if you're interested, if I piqued your interest, I have been trained by the Soil Food Web School for the last 3 years. I've finished their foundation courses. I'm certified to do soil biology testing with a microscope. I use it on our farm all the time. And last fall, I started offering it to others. So you could go online and order soil biology tests from our website. You can also contact me if you're interested in consultations, or I even sell some of our compost that we make to inoculate your soil. So reach out if you're at all interested in connecting on what we're doing. But I will also say, I wanted to give this screenshot. It's freezing. Let's see here. List of resources. If you are at all interested in doing a deeper dive here, I think
So www.pottfarms.com would be the place to start at then. And
yeah, I have my contact information. I think I'm pushing my laptop to its limit. Let's see if I can.
Maybe if you close that little pop-up window, you can change real quick.
Okay, let's close that. There we go. This is what I wanted. Take a screenshot of this. Free, and I would say check out. There's lots of free information. Soil Food Web School, Regen Soil Conference, the Soil Regen Conference. Search permaculture. Follow regenerative agriculture groups on social media. There's a lot of free content. You can start really getting your mind around these ideas. I'll say that, this is happening on a large scale. We are small scale at Pott Farms, but there are those figuring out how to use these principles on large scale farms, 750 acres in Indiana. There's several thousand acres in Montana. There's these examples of using equipment to get these principles implemented. So I don't need to keep it just, to our small niche side of the corner. People are learning and experiencing, and sharing what they're learning. And a lot of it is just really freely available. And then I also wanted to touch base. So contact me if you're interested, but I also wanted to follow up on Mike. So we started off as a marijuana company back in 2017.
Yeah, that was where the Pott Farms would fit in real nicely, right? So,
and that we will get to that. We still intend to get a marijuana license. We were pre-approved, actually, and then hemp became available in 2019, and we just jumped ship to hemp because we really wanted to focus on the farming, and we really wanted to focus on the job creation, and we've been doing that. And you kind of let the marijuana side thing, maybe the dust settle a bit more, and maybe time will allow our way of growing cannabis be accepted on the marijuana side of things. And talking about tourism, our new farm, our goal is to be a destination farm and possibly a micro business where people come out to our farm, enjoy, consume here. And so that's our vision.
That's what I was going to say. A micro business would be a good fit for you because that's, as you all know, that they don't allow you to sell anything but your own product, you know, so.
So Robbin, is there any other, I want to say, opportunities available for like this summer for people to attend or go to learn any more about this in the near area, like in Indiana, Ohio, or, are you doing it? You're probably not doing anything on your farm this year, like a demonstration or anything, or?
No, so we always are. So I would say follow us on social media. We are active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I'm posting those kind of opportunities as much as I can. I know there's a hempcrete workshop coming up in Chelsea, Michigan in July. I think you added that to your email last time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. As a matter of fact.
Oh, cool. I didn't need to steal your thunder.
No. Yeah. That's good. So it's a good segue.
Nice
right?
segue from him. He likes that.
Yeah, and we're at the top of the hour. So Blaine, do you have a recipe? You have?
I do, Dave. Again, I want to thank Robbin for taking time out of her schedule and sharing her information. This is great information to share. A lot to learn, for sure. And it's good to know that people are trying to do this on a scale situation as well, because that's what it's going to take to change a lot of this stuff. So for sure. Yep. So Dave, I don't know if you have Kim's. She didn't send me a poster, but maybe you can bring up her website or something we can show. But anyways, I don't have
it, Blaine.
You don't? Okay, that's fine. So that's going to be July 8th and 9th in Chelsea, Michigan. It's a 2-day workshop that Kim Crows is putting on regarding hempcrete, building with material. Now, what's a good segue for that is we're going to do a show in 2 weeks. We're not going to do a show next week, but on the 23rd, we're going to do another iHemp hour, and we're going to have Kim on to talk about that. Also, we've invited her cohorts or other crew that was at the expo as well. We invited Rachel and Jacob and Alex to be on the show. So the 23rd will be a great show. We're going to be talking about hemp building material, hemp products, and where that's all going. And maybe Jacob can give us an update on what's happening on the hempcrete being allowed into the building material codes. So exciting where that is going for sure on that. Anything else, Dave? You want to throw anything else, Mike, before we kind of wrap
We're
it up?
just waiting for the Emperor now. So
Well, that's coming. Yeah, that's coming. So we have today, because it's that time of year, it is strawberry season for those that have not yet gone out and got their strawberries and freeze them and do them. That's this time of year that this week is going on great. I've seen them out. I've seen some of the roadside markets available for that. But before I get into that, I did want to talk about this hemp seed oil, the natural oral care ingredient. So there you go, Mike. Now a new thing here.
hey,
We know hemp seed oil is beneficial for hair, skin, and our overall nutrition, but did you know it is an excellent natural oil care ingredient? Our dental health isn't just about our smile either. Studies show how gum inflation and tooth decay are linked to conditions like cardiovascular disease and diabetes, making the efficacy of our oil product a necessity. So another way you can use your hemp seed oil is a little bit of toothpaste in there.
So go to downonthefarm.biz, get some hemp seed oil and mix it into your toothpaste. Is that
Yep.
what?
Or you can just pick a swill of it and swig it around and put it out. I saw an
I'll go with
advertisement
it.
for it for olive oil talking about it, but hemp seed oil is much better and it tastes a lot better
Yep.
too that way. So
There you go.
So today we have strawberry hemp smoothie. A light strawberry smoothie is a perfect way to usher in the season of fresh produce and welcome warmer mornings. Hemp seed takes the place of nuts, creating a protein-rich smoothie, and also provides a dose of omega-3 fatty acids. So, we're up on our game a little bit. So,
whoa, it looks good.
yeah,
Ooh.
now I'm going to have to take a little swig of this.
Did you make it or Becky?
I'm gonna give credit where credit's due there. Becky made this one today.
Oh, yeah.
On the show.
Becky.
She garnished it with a
Emperor.
nice little strawberry.
What's on top there?
That's what I was trying to show it. That's the hemp seed hearts on there.
Oh,
I mix them in, but you also put a little on top.
What
So it makes a very nice presentation for everybody. So,
Beautiful.
but really simple ingredients here. 2 cups hauled strawberries, fresh or frozen. I like to use them frozen because it just makes it a little more thicker and makes it more like a shake kind of thing. Frozen banana, if you want to throw that, broken into pieces. Half cup of water, 3 tablespoons of hemp seed, and a tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Place all the ingredients in a blender and blend it till smooth, and then you can enjoy and have a very healthy, refreshing shake smoothie.
now is there somewhere online where someone can buy hemp seeds?
Mm-hmm. There is for sure. If you go to downonthefarm.biz, you can order some hemp seeds there. We had them at the expo. We got a fresh batch in, so those are available for there. Of course, I'd love you to buy them from me, but there are other places you can get them as well. But might as well get them. Might as well order them for me and help me out. Help out the small farmer here.
There you go.
That's for sure. So we look forward to everybody joining us again on June 23rd. An exciting show with Kim Crows, talking about her upcoming project on July the 8th and 9th. Hempcrete workshop going to be in Chesaning, Michigan. Chelsea, Michigan. Thank you. That's where it's going to be at. So looking forward to that.
Excellent. All right. Thanks again, Robin. Really appreciate your time and
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
information. It was good stuff.